Okay, so have a strap, and we are going to start on our backs, but we're going to set up the strap for Supta Baddha Konasana. So if you're using something else as a strap, just do your best to figure out how to set this up. And if you don't have a strap, don't worry about it. We'll just set up Supta Baddha Konasana without the strap and you'll be just fine. But if you are working with a strap, it's going to go under your feet, the soles of the feet together, knees wide, over the tops of the ankles and around the lower back. And you want the strap set up so that it hits just above the hip bone, so just above the iliac crest. Make sure the place to adjust the strap is within reach, because we are going to lie back. And don't bring your feet in as tight as you possibly can, because it'll feel like a little bit more intense once we're lying back versus sitting up. So you can kind of test it out. So again, you want that strap above the pelvis. So it's going to hug right around the front of those hip bones. And then once you're on your back, you can bring the feet in a little closer if that feels okay. You can also elevate your shoulders and your head if this feels uncomfortable in the back. And then close your eyes or set your gaze at one spot. And if you do have your eyes open, just work with a really soft gaze. You can bring your hands onto your belly or down around your pelvis. And we'll move into a really soft Ujjayi breath. So closing the back of the throat just a bit, just enough that you can start to create a little bit of sound. Just enough that your breath will naturally slow down. And you're breathing in and out. Seeing if you can let your inhales and your exhales be about the same length. So you have a pretty good sense of where your hip bones are here, because the strap is wrapping right around them. And if you were to trace those bones to where they meet at the back, you'd find your sacrum right in between them. So you have two joints connecting your sacrum with your hip bones. And your sacrum is about the size of your hand. And when you're lying on your back like this, it's a bit concave. So you could almost fill it up and it would hold a little bit of water. Below it is your tailbone, and above it is your lumbar spine, your lower spine. And so as you inhale, I want you to imagine that you could draw the breath from the center of the pelvic floor up and trace the shape of the sacrum towards the spine. And then as you exhale, the breath washes back down through the sacrum and out through the center of the pelvic floor. So the inhale draws the breath up, almost like a wave starting to build and crest. And then the exhale that way is going to crash down and kind of clean out the pelvis from the sacrum on down. So the energetic center, the chakra associated with this part of the body, this area of the body, the hips, the lower belly, the sacrum, is the second chakra, the svadhisthana chakra. And the element associated with this energetic center is water. And its name means sweetness. And so you can just imagine sweet waves of your breath moving. We're going to continue to breathe here, but you might play around with using the feet to kind of drag the strap more into the hips and kind of pull the hips with the strap away from the lower spine. So you can almost create a little bit of traction by moving your feet away from the pelvis. And just see for these last few breaths here, if there's any tension, if there's any work through the inner thighs, through the groins that you could maybe let go of, even just for a moment. Checking in with your jaw, your roof of your mouth, your tongue. Seeing if you can unclench. So this energetic center is the place of all of your creativity, any movement, any action, any change that you're looking to bring in. It's nice to focus on the second chakra. This chakra is associated with pleasure, not just sexual pleasure, any joy that you create in your life. And so from the second chakra, if there's an intention that you'd like to set in your practice for this evening, please feel free to do that now. And then you can loosen up the strap. I'm going to say lying back, but you can take it off your feet. Bring your feet mat width apart, toes turned slightly out. Take a breath in. And then exhale, let both knees roll over to the left. You can press down through the inside edge of that right foot. Lengthen your right thigh bone forward as you inhale. And then exhale, bring it back to center. Knees to the right, inhale, reach that left thigh bone forward. And then exhale back to center. You can keep your arms down by your sides, or you could take them up overhead, maybe hold opposite elbows, inhaling to reach that right thigh bone forward and down, like the knee could find the front left corner of your mat. And then exhale back to center. Inhale to the right. And exhale, center. Bring the knees into your chest, give them a hug. And we'll rock up to a seat and come right up into tabletop. Let's come into a couple rounds of cat-cow. Letting your pelvis really lead the action. So in your inhale, the pubic bone reaches back, your lower back arches. And on the exhale, your tailbone is going to curl down and almost like it could curl underneath you. And your spine move around. Do a couple more of those. And then bring the hands back by the knees. Tuck the toes and press into a standing forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your heart forward, reach your pubic bone and your tailbone back. And exhale, fold all the way down. Bend the knees if you need to. We're going to push through the feet. Inhale, stand all the way up, arms come up overhead. And then exhale, swim your arms down by your sides. Again, inhale, reach up. And this time, exhale, fold all the way down. Inhale, lengthen your heart forward, pubic bone and tailbone reach back. Your legs are pushing into the floor to grow longer. And then exhale, fold all the way down. Push through the feet, inhale, stand up. Arms reach up, feet press down, get as tall as you can. And then exhale, just like you're swimming, the arms come down, the feet continue to push into the floor so you land a little taller. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, lengthen out your spine. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. This time, exhale, step back into plank. And then we'll just lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Fingers spread wide. Pubic bone is trying to reach towards the top of the wall behind you. And as much push as you're putting into your hands, into your arms, can you find that through your legs? So they're actively pushing the floor away to grow taller. And that should float your hips a little higher. Can you feel your breath? How does it feel where you connect to the floor? And then inhale, take your right leg back enough. And we'll exhale to step it forward as far as it'll go, maybe using your hand to help bring it up in between your hands. Release the back knee down, release the back toes. And we'll inhale, take the arms up. Really reach up. Pushing down through the feet, through the left knee, and then exhale, bring the hands down and start to straighten that right leg. Inhale, pubic bone and tailbone reach back as your heart and the crown of your head reach forward. And then exhale, rebend that right knee and release the left knee down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, brings the hands down. Start to straighten the right leg. And the inhale creates length in your spine as your pubic bone and tailbone reach back. Exhale, bend the front knee, release the back knee. Inhale, arms up. One more time like that. Exhale, hands down. Work towards straightening the leg. Inhale, lengthen the heart forward. The outer hips slide back. And then exhale, release the back knee, release the back toes. Inhale, take the arms up. As they come down, bring them to your left side. We're going to turn the left toes 90 degrees. So your left shin is parallel with the front of your mat. And then just bend the right knee any amount. So you're working into your inner thighs. You can always pad that back knee up if it needs a little blanket. And then you can use your right elbow to encourage that right knee open more if there's room for it to go a little further. Breathing into the sensation around your pelvis, around your hips. And then we'll release, walk the hands back towards the front of the mat, turn your back toes back. We're going to turn the right toes to the right, roll to the outer left hip, and then you're just pressing out through your back foot as you let your left hip sink down, opening up through that outer left hip, left waist, left ribs. See if you can feel a solid connection of your right foot on the floor. So base of big toe, base of pinky toe, center of heel. And your left leg is just trying to grow a little longer. Walk back towards the front of the mat. Maybe bend the left knee and see if you can find that left foot. We're going to do this again later, so if it feels like it's too soon for a quad stretch, you can hang in a lunge and just work towards maybe bending that front knee more. Breathing into the sensation. So sensing and feeling are associated with the second chakra. Sense of touch. Hands come down. We're going to take pigeon props. You're going to walk your right foot over towards the left side of the mat and that knee as much as you need to for it to be comfortable. You can always take this on your back in a figure four. And then maybe fold forward. You're doing your best to stay present with whatever sensation comes up. So it can be tempting when we feel something intense to want to check out, get lost in the story. And so your job as a human practicing yoga here is just to acknowledge when that happens, like, okay, I'm not here, and then just bring yourself back. And the easiest way to override the narrating part of your brain is just to come right into sensation. If the most obvious sensation of the pose is too much, maybe you check out how it feels to have your forehead resting on your hands. Maybe you see how it would feel to soften a bit more through your belly. I'm focusing a lot on second chakra lately, just realizing how much attention it needs after a couple of years of pandemic time where there was limited touch, limited joy and pleasure. And at the same time, all this like weird pressure in the beginning to just be more creative and do more with the time. And so as we're moving through this exploration of the hips, the second chakra, just being really soft and gentle with yourself, with whatever comes up, and allowing yourself to get really intimate with your own emotional reactions, physical reactions. tending well to your own needs. And then we'll bring the hands under the shoulders, come up onto your hands or your forearms. We're going to find a little bit of a back bend. So it might be enough here, but you might be able to walk the hands a little bit further back towards your hips. And rather than thinking about kind of pushing into your lower back, could you imagine pulling your rib cage forward away from the hips as you lift the heart up and arch a bit back? So you're creating all that space in the lower back, in the lower belly, drawing the rib cage forward. One more breath in here. And then exhale, step back, downward facing dog. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift that left leg up. And exhale, step it forward. However many steps it takes. You're going to release that back knee down. And we'll inhale, take the arms up. Letting the arms lift the rib cage. And then exhale, hands come down. Start to straighten your left leg, lifting the hips up and back. Inhaling to reach the heart forward. Exhaling to rebend the knees. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down, hips up and back. Pubic bone and tailbone reach back as your heart reaches forward. Exhale, come back to your lunge. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down, legs work towards straight, spine reaches forward. Exhale, rebend the knees. Inhale takes your arms up. And then exhale, bring them over to the right. We'll turn your right toes 90 degrees and bend your left knee. Maybe your left elbow encourages that left knee open. And then walk the hands forward. Turn the left toes to the left. I'm going to roll to the outer right hip and reach long through that right leg towards the back of your mat. So really push through the heel. Your right rib cage can sink down a bit. How does it feel to breathe here? Coming back to face forward. Maybe find that little quad stretch. Right hand finds the right foot. So there's the emotional component to the hips, the pelvis, the energetic piece of it. And then there's also just the fact that we weren't always upright. So our hips just are tight because they're doing a lot of work that they didn't used to have to do, and we kind of were on all fours. Let's come towards half pigeon here. Again, you can always take it on your back. Letting your head rest, maybe on a block, maybe on your hands. I'll just say that if your hips are tight, it's, yeah, you're a human being. This is just this is what's happening. And as much as we want to stay mobile, being a little bit on the stiffer side is maybe going to make it easier as you age. It's easier to work into mobility than to rein back in the hypermobility. So whichever side you land on that, just thanking your hips, getting you around all day. Can you soften through the belly? Can you soften through the jaw? Sometimes it's enough just to ask the question. I don't know, can I? You ask that question right to your jaw. Can you? And then walk the hands under the shoulders, lifting up with the chest, trying to find even that hint of a back bend, all the while pulling your hands back, dragging your heart forward, making all that space through low back. And your back leg is active. It's trying to reach long, go behind you, and also anchor down into the floor. That should make it more comfortable on low back when your leg becomes more of an active participant. Good, and then downward facing dog. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale. Exhale. How does downward facing dog feel after the work that we just did? Can your legs grow a little longer? And then take a longer inhale, push through the hands, really lift up and back through the hips. Exhale, bend the knees, look forward, and on empty, walk or hop your feet up to your hands. Lengthen your heart forward as you inhale. Fold down as you exhale. And then push through the feet, stand all the way up. Pushing through base of big and little toes, center of heel. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Take a wide step out to the right. We're going to set up for Trikonasana, triangle pose. So your right foot's going to step wide, turn those toes forward. Both legs externally rotate at the thighs. We'll take the right arm up. Reach forward as your legs reach back. And that right hand will come down to the floor, maybe to a block on the inside edge of that foot. And then just pause for a moment here. So there's a big turning out in that right thigh, right at the hip. And then same with the left leg. And then you push down through your hands to find the rotation in the spine. Maybe that left arm comes up. And you're breathing. Now that big external rotation through the legs can feel like a lot. And so maybe you play around with adding in just a little hint of the opposite. So like you're externally rotating that right thigh, but what if you just internally rotate it just a bit, just to balance things out? Both legs are actively pushing the floor away. And then pubic bone and tailbone reach back as the heart and the crown of the head reach forward. And then notice what you're paying attention to. The mind's going to have thoughts. Can you turn away from whatever thoughts in there right now and just notice how it feels to have your feet on the ground? Hold your left hip, bend that right knee, walk the left foot in a little. We're going to lift that left leg up, coming into your half moon pose. Gaze at one spot. And as soon as the left leg lifts up, it's going to become super active, reaching back behind you, toes spread wide, reaching up. Even though this is the lifted leg, this is the anchor of the pose. This is going to keep you balanced. And then bring your left hand down. You're going to square your hips. Let your left hip dip lower than your right hip. Turn your left toes to the right. And then actively press through your right foot, rooting down through the base of that right big toe. So it's not going to look like much, but you're feeling into that outer line of your right leg all the way up into your hip joint. And then step your left foot next to your right, a little wider than hip width apart. We're going to lower the hips down into a squat. Hands to your heart. Inhale, lift your heart. Press your elbows out into your shins. Exhale, and on empty, you're going to lift up a little bit right at the center of the pelvic floor, and then stand up as you inhale. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart. And we'll step out to the left and set up for triangle on the other side. So thighs externally rotate right at the hips, left arm reaches up, pushing the floor away right from the beginning. And then the hips reach back as your arm reaches forward and down. And then you breathe. The press of the left arm is going to help to rotate your spine. And your arms spread wide from the chest and from the shoulder blades. Can you get a little longer from pubic bone and tailbone through crown of head? And then hold your right hip, walk that right foot a little closer to your left, walk your left hand forward, maybe a little to the left. And then we'll take that right leg up. And as if there was a wall right at the sole of that right foot, and you could push into it, you could push off of it. Can you open your hips any amount more? If things are feeling solid, you might play with turning your gaze to your right thumb. And then bring the right hand down, square the hips. And then your right hip will dip just a little lower than your left, and you can turn your right toes to the left. Go ahead and flex that ankle. And then any amount, work towards straightening that left leg. Like you could push the left foot into the floor more. And get a real solid connection with the base of that left big toe. And then I don't know about you, but I have to really focus on my breathing here to keep things calm. It's not breathing through pain or anything that feels dangerous. It's just like there's an intense reaction and I'm going to breathe to try to stay present so that I can observe it. And then you step your feet a little wider than hips width. Lower your hips into your squat, hands at your heart. Elbows can press those knees open a bit as you lengthen your spine. You're going to follow your exhale right down to the very bottom of the breath. And as if you could just lift right up through the center of the pelvic floor, you're going to inhale and stand up. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Step out wide again, right toes face the right. You're going to square your hips towards your right foot. And we're going to just hold the hips. You're going to press the hips back as your legs straighten. Pubic bone and tailbone guide your hips back as your spine reaches forward. And then that left hand can come down to the floor, maybe onto a block on the inside edge of the foot. If you twist and start to open up your chest and your left shoulder is easily lined up with your right leg, then maybe take your hand to the outside edge of the foot. And then what about your feet? Can you still feel them? Anchoring you back there. There's a little external rotation in your left hip. And at the end of the day, all these little adjustments don't even matter. Are you breathing? Are you present to what's happening in your body right now? Are your joints comfortable? So taking good care of yourself, tending well to your own needs. That's some second chakra stuff right there. And follow your next exhale, unwind your twist, and then stand up and change sides. So left toes face forward, right toes angle in. You can hold the hips. I like to hold them just to help with kind of guiding level hips back. And so your feet actively push into the floor to grow those legs longer, and your hands just guide the hips back. Right hand comes down, floor or block, and then you open up into your twist. How's your breath? How's your relationship with your breath? And then exhale. Make your way on out. You're going to inhale and stand up. Last week, I think it was last week, we did not even do, I don't think, one standing pose. So we're getting them all in tonight. We're going to turn the right toes, bend the right knee, setting up for side angle. Inhale, take the right arm up. Opening up all that space, like you could pull space up and out of the front of that left hip, that right hip pocket where you had the strap. And then right elbow can come onto right thigh, left arm up alongside the ear. Turning your chest open into the twist. Maybe the right hand comes to the floor. You can take it to the inside for tonight and use the elbow the same way that we did in that little lunge variation where you're using the elbow to guide the knee open more. Strongly anchored through that back foot, that back outer heel. And then on your next exhale, bring the left hand down and frame that right foot, square the hips. Take the left leg parallel to the floor. You can always use blocks under your hands here. Feel for getting nice and long from the push of the left heel through the crown of your head. And then we'll open up, twisting the chest to the right for our revolved half moon. Unwind, step your feet a little wider than hip width, lower your hips into a squat. Inhale to lift and open your chest. Exhale, follow your breath to the bottom. Nice and heavy through your tailbone and lifting up through the pelvic floor as you inhale and stand. Exhale, you can just let your arms come down by your sides. Inhale, reach up, feet push down. And then exhale, hands to your heart. Step it out to the left. Last few poses here. And we're going to make our way on down. So nice deep bend in that left knee without losing the connection to your back foot. Let's inhale, take the left arm up and open, feeling space out from the inside pocket of that left hip. And then forearm to thigh, maybe hand to floor, right arm alongside the ear. And I always like to test in this shape, can I still move my pelvis? Can I get any sense of like a cat-cow type of action in this shape? And does it feel more comfortable to lean more into the cow hips or the cat? Maybe for your body, lengthening the tailbone back helps you find more length in the spine, helps you find more twist. If your body generally goes in that direction anyways, maybe a little bit of the opposite. And regardless, you're breathing. And then we'll bring the hands down to frame that left foot. And you're working your right leg parallel to the floor, as close to as you can get it. Lengthen your spine. And the right hand will stay down as your left arm reaches up, working into the twist. Step your feet wider than hip width apart, lowering into your squat. Inhaling in your squat. Exhaling, lift your pelvic floor. And then inhale, stand up. Exhale, release the arms. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, hands to your heart. We're going to take one last wide step out to the right. And then we'll just come into our low lunge. You can release the back toes. We'll inhale, take the left arm up. And then exhale, left elbow across, either forearm onto the thigh or elbow is going to hook to the outside of the thigh. Curl your tailbone down and slightly forward. So like a little hint of your cat pose in your hips. And then open up into your twist. That could be pressing the palms together to open up your chest. That could be left hand to the floor, right arm to the ceiling. If you want to take it into a variation where your back knee is lifted or your back foot is grounded, feel free. We'll be here for a few more breaths. And then unwind. Step into downward facing dog. Just reestablishing all that length through your spine. And when you're ready to take the other side, we'll just step the left foot forward. Inhale the right arm up. And exhale, twist. So this is a flexion twist. So we're just finding that little curling of the tailbone. It's going to help prevent any pinching at the front of the hip. Taking it to a place where you can still breathe, where you still feel like you have options. Instead of going so deep that your only option is just to try to hold on. Taking any other options here that feel right for your body tonight. And then when you're done, we'll meet in child's pose. When you feel ready to move, come on up to a seat. And maybe elevate your seat with a little bit of blanket right under your sit bones. So you just make it a little easier for your hips to find a little bit of a forward tip, or at least come out of the back tip. And we're going to set up for double pigeon or fire log pose. So we'll do right leg on the bottom, left leg on top. And it's ankle to knee pose. So you could have top ankle over bottom knee, top knee over bottom ankle. But depending on what's going on with your hips, you can see mine, it's hard to see with all the black, but my hips are pretty tight. So it feels a little bit nicer for me to bring my bottom foot in a little closer to the pelvis. So not quite ankle to knee on the left knee side. For your left foot ankle, just make sure it's far enough over that this ankle does have freedom to move. So you don't want to be stuck in like a sickled position like this. It's just going to give your knee less options as the hip maybe doesn't or does want to open. If it doesn't want to open, all that pressure will go into the knee. If the ankle is free, you can let off some steam at the bottom part of the joint. And then you could just be right here. Think about pubic bone and tailbone rooting down. As you maybe start to fold forward, your pubic bone is trying to dive down and then back underneath you, helping to kind of tip the pelvis in that direction. And your tailbone is staying nice and anchored. You can imagine it diving right into the floor behind you, keeping you nice and anchored. And then you're just breathing. Some of you might come into this shape and not feel much at all. Don't worry about it. Don't try to make it feel intense if it's not. The rest of us, it might be very intense right away. And just know the more often you do this shape, the easier it will be. It might not ever be, legs stacked, big forward folds, but your body gets more comfortable doing what it does most days. So if you take this more often, your nervous system will be like, oh yeah, we know this place. And you're breathing. And your ability to practice breathing in an asana that feels uncomfortable is great practice for anything else uncomfortable that you're going to come up against. You're building resiliency. You're widening your threshold, widening your tolerance for stress, building up your own reserves. And it's a real safe place to do it because you get to decide, am I going to stay in this shape a little longer? Am I going to come out? Am I going to adjust? How am I going to get my needs met? And maybe it's okay to stay in the discomfort a little longer and practice using my breath. So many things that this is good practice for right now. So many things happening in the world right now that are maybe a result of some really imbalanced second chakra situations. Folks that really want to have a say on who gets to create life and when. Let's come on out of this shape. We're going to take the other side. What kind of relationships people are allowed to have. It's a lot of people that are maybe not great at getting their own needs met. That's all I can think about. It's got to be, right? All right, so ankle to knee, other side. Could be a totally different side. This could be your easy side. Set it up, and then it doesn't have to look like how it's going to end right at the beginning, right? So take your time. I actually find it more comfortable if I fold forward a little bit than being upright. So play around what feels right for your body. The pubic bone dropping down, maybe like it could slide back underneath you, under your pelvis. And all of your attention on what's happening right now. Super intimate with your own experience. And we've all had the experience of having things be so intense internally with stress and whatnot over the last couple of years that it's like we do not want to get intimate with that. So if that's where you're at with something today, that's okay too. Sometimes just giving yourself space around it is what you need. hips might not have space to soften anymore, but what about your jaw? What about your armpits? What about your belly? When that feels about even, come on up to a seat. You can unwind your legs. You venture up your feet. And then we're going to take svadhisthana. As a big truck backs up on my street. You can hear that. So wide-legged, maybe forward fold, and you can elevate the hips as much as you need to here. So again, it could just be here, just a seated position, pubic bone and tailbone rooting down. Maybe play around with walking your hands forward any amount. Your nervous system does like a gentle approach. So breathing as things feel comfortable, maybe moving in a little deeper. Legs actively reaching longer, so they're participants in the pose. Soft bellies. Soft gaze if your eyes are open. Feel a strong anchor of your tailbone rooting down. Imagine that diving even further into the floor as you start to press up to a seat. This is just one of those poses that just calms me down. And if it's not for you, that's okay. I'm sure you have something that feels really good that I would not enjoy. All right, so a couple of options before Shavasana. What I have planned is Vajrasana. So I'll talk you into that. But if that doesn't feel like something that you want to take, you could do a supported Baddha, so the same pose that we started practice with, but maybe leaning back over a bolster. You could do a supported back bend, putting a roll in your upper back. But what I'm going to walk you through is supported Vajrasana. So you'll have a bolster, maybe some blankets or blocks or anything that can elevate your shoulders and your head or your chest and your head. You're going to sit on your feet. Your feet will be together, knees wide. So first option here, if sitting on your feet feels awful, either for your knees or your ankles. If it's your knees, you can elevate your hips a little bit on a block. You could also tuck some blanket right at the back of the thighs, right up behind the knees, and that might feel more comfortable. If it's the tops of the feet, if you just roll a blanket roll and put it right across the front of the ankles, that'll help. And so you could stay right here. You could Walk your hands back, giving your body time to adjust. And no decision is final. So if you come back and you're like, nope, then just come back upright, no problem. You come down onto your forearms. You could let your chest and your head, or your upper back and your head rest down. If you come into your supported Vajrasana and it starts to feel so comfortable that you don't know if you even need the support, you can play around with taking that out. Maybe coming back to your breath, washing up and down inside your sacrum. Whatever shape you've chosen, how can you be here? Not because you signed up for yoga tonight, but how can you be here for yourself? How can you care for yourself in this shape? Sometimes that's just giving it the attention. Your nervous system will feel that support. You can stay here longer, there's plenty of time. If you're ready to transition into Shavasana, you can start to make that transition. I like to come out of Vajrasana, Virasana, and come into supportive rest before I extend my legs out straight. This feels a little bit nicer on my knees. Maybe you like that. And for Shavasana tonight, I'm just going to guide you through body scan. Feel free to tune me out if that's not what you need. Let your attention drop down into your feet. Can you feel your big toes? Second toes. Third toes. Fourth toes. Pinkies. Can you feel your way across the balls of the feet? Into the arches and the heels. Can you feel into the tops of the feet? The ankles, the lower legs. Can you feel into your knees? Can you feel your thighs? Can you feel into your hips? Your pelvis, pubic bone, tailbone, your sit bones, and all the space between. Can you feel into your seat? Your sacrum, lower back, can you feel and maybe soften into lower belly, middle and upper belly, and all around your rib cage. The contents of the rib cage, lungs, heart. Can you feel into your hands, thumbs, pointers, middle fingers, ring fingers, and pinkies? Can you feel into the palms, tops of hands and wrists? Forearms and elbows, upper arms, armpits, shoulders. Upper back, neck, throat. Ears, lower jaw, upper jaw, gums, tongue, roof of mouth. Lips and cheeks, nose, eyes, temples, forehead, skull, brain. whole body, sinking into all the parts that rest down. Draw in a longer breath through your nose, let it out through your mouth. And when you're ready to move, you can press up to a seat. Bring hands to your lower belly, maybe one to your heart. Taking a moment to remember your intention for practice. And to honor the second chakra for the hours, days, week ahead. May I allow myself to move and change, to feel, to get my needs met, to stay intimate with myself. Let's close out our practice with one Om. Om. Thank you so much for coming out or turning on your computer. Thank you guys.